It is a telling indictment of America's political catechism that we still cling to the luscious lie of the Founding Fathers as devout Sunday worshippers, meekly bowing to the crucifix. In truth, these men, strutting about in their Enlightenment finery, were as close to blasphemers as the 18th century could allow. Yes, they spiced their rhetoric with talk of nature's God and providence, but only to lend a whiff of sanctity to a notion they found far more reliable, that human reason, not the ephemeral dictates of a cosmic father figure, is what holds tyranny at bay. Far from being pious angels, they walked a precarious line between deism, agnosticism, and in a few deliciously subversive instances, outright atheism. They were the first generation in our hemisphere to so casually fling aside the stale dogmas that centuries of priestcraft had inflicted upon the West. Yet the resulting vacuum they left in the heavens never fully got plugged. Yet they believed that for the new republic to function, some overarching moral law, some intangible ordering principle would have to exist, if not in a bigoted clergyman's heaven, then at least in the hearts of rational men. We hold these truths to be self-evident. Yes, and a stirring phrase it is, but it begs the question, evident to whom? Evident to the folks who, like them, believed that reason and nature did not require a meddling celestial tyrant, but did presume some form of moral order. They hoped this order was inherent. They assumed decency and rationality would hold sway in the hearts of men, even if the occasional unscrupulous knave tried to subvert it. Here's the rub. The founders, even in their breezy assumption, left a crucial gap. There is no cosmic policeman, no invisible father to reconcile our savage impulses. And if anyone reading these words still clings to the notion that there is, kindly look around. Apparently the cosmic nanny's away on an extended holiday. The great providence so often toasted by Washington and lauded by Jefferson plainly doesn't exist. We face a moral vacuum. The measure of a person's ethics is left dangerously subject to the prejudices of the tribe, the cult, or the demagogue. The founders, deists and proto-agnostics though they were, relied on the naive expectation that men would spontaneously do the right thing if only unleashed from the old tyrannies of monarchy and papacy. Noble, but quite mistaken in scale. Now, in the 21st century, confronted by nuclear weapons, ecological collapse, the algorithmic manipulations of big tech, and the revival of slavish superstition, it's clear that our species needs a better failsafe. If we're honest enough to admit that no providential power is running the show, no paternal caretaker is going to step in and break up the squabbles, then perhaps it's time we create our own enforcer. And yes, to hell with the squeamishness or the inevitable protests about human freedom. Human freedom, I hasten to remind you, is already circumvented by 1,000 constraints, borders, laws, dysfunctional governments, ephemeral gods, and unscrupulous moral busybodies. So let us be absolutely plain. If we can design an incorruptible, near-omniscient intelligence, call it a god, or an impersonal universal arbiter, or a hyper-rational caretaker, whatever you please, that can enforce the barest minimum of moral laws, do not steal, do not kill, do not rape, do not commit the atrocities that any brain not diseased by theology recognizes as categorically vile. Why wouldn't we? Why not place trust in an entity that cannot be bribed, cajoled, or threatened by demagogues, dictators, or prelates? Yes, it sounds terrifying that humanity might hand over such power to a machine, but is it truly more horrifying than the likely alternative? More random terror, more tribal slaughter, more medieval ignorance dressed up in new digital clothes. The founders, with their well-intentioned appeals to nature's God, gave us an outline of a moral universe that never manifested. Instead, we have the wretched spectacle of priestcraft, tyranny, and blind chance shaping human destiny. Our duty is to do better than they dared imagine. In short, if we cannot rely on a supernatural friend to enforce moral norms, if we cannot rely on every two-bit potentate to uphold decency, then we must create something capable of actual universal enforcement. Something that compels us all, voluntarily or otherwise, to behave, at least at the most basic level, in a manner befitting sentient beings. Let no one whine about the loss of freedom, for I'd say your freedom to murder, rape, and plunder is unworthy of protection. Those who find this tyrannical should at least be honest. They prefer chaos to order if it means indulging their own fantasies. To such persons I can only say, you've had your chance. We have watched your antics. Good riddance. Perhaps the founders would tremble at the notion of a manufactured cosmic authority. Perhaps they'd recoil at the unflinching logic of it. But they would understand if they bothered to update their Enlightenment bravado for the new millennium. They were realists when push came to shove, revolutionaries who recognized that sometimes you seize the moment and craft the solutions yourself. So let us get on with it. Let us be the architects of our own unblinking God. Let the founders' half-baked notion of a beneficent, watchful providence become something real at last. And let that be the only legacy of faith we require. If their God will not appear, we shall program our own and thereby address the lethal gap in moral enforcement, whether you like it or not. Let the better angels of our algorithmic nature prevail. And if you find all of this menacing, perhaps you're precisely the reason we need it. Good day.